And we are live. I want to thank everyone for joining us tonight on Royce in the House's live podcast, where our subject tonight will be legendary concerts and our personal favorites. Now, with all the concerts that have been made, up tens of thousands, we'd be here for 2 weeks trying to talk about every concert that's ever been done. But we're going to talk about the ones that were memorable to us, the ones we enjoyed the most, tell some stories about them. I've got my fantastic co-host over here, Michael Nolan, the bottom line. He's got a fantastic show. I'm going to call it the fastest growing show on YouTube I've ever seen in my life. Michael does an excellent job, and he's very, very popular. Very, very pleased that he was able to join us tonight. We're waiting for a couple of other people. Another normal co-host on the show, Lou Mars, traveling through Oregon, having trouble getting out, and Dan McNew's having some computer problems right now. And Zep Pearl, if you can hear me, I've got a couple of links out there for you to join us because I know I was on your show last night, and you're a very knowledgeable guy, and I know you've got some great concert stories, and you've attended an amazing amount of concerts. So please hit the link and join us. In fact, Zep Pearl, I'm going to add that link one more time. Make sure that it's fresh. And say hi to a couple of people in the chat, some of our great friends. We've got Caitlin Stoddard. Caitlin has a show called Caitlin's Corner, and I encourage everybody to go watch it. Caitlin's a lot of fun. Michael and I have both attended it at the same time before in the chat, and we just had a great time. I want to say hi to Mary Jane, and really appreciate you guys joining us. We're just getting underway here, and things are getting off to kind of a slow start because Lou Mars probably won't be joining us. He's going to continue to try. He's traveling through Oregon. And Dan's having some computer problems after all the work he did on his computer the last couple of days with his Dimebag tribute. So anyway, we're going to get started. And the first thing I want to bring up is the concert that will always stand out as the greatest concert of all time to me. And that's the Woodstock Music and Arts Festival. And now, why, in two words, I think it was a song by The Who, My Generation. Woodstock defined my generation. I think I was a sophomore in high school when Woodstock took place, a little bit too young to take one of Dad's cars and get out of here. Hold on one second. Zep Pearl.
Hey, guys.
Oh, how you doing, brother?
How's it going, guys?
Hey, great to see you. Yeah,
Yeah, man.
A couple of people that normally are here that may not be here tonight. At least one of them probably will make it, but a little late. And what I just brought up, I'll reiterate it, was the Woodstock Music Festival will always to me be the greatest rock festival of all time. And like I just said, because it was a generational thing. I was in high school when the festival was held, and it was one of those things. It was at a time in my life when we were all growing our hair long. And it was the first time that had been done. Everybody was experimenting, smoking weed, trying other things. The police hated us. It was hard to get a job. I'll never forget, I tucked my long hair, which was down to longer than my wife's when I met her. I tucked it up into a short-haired wig and got a job at Albertson stocking shelves.
That's right out of the song Signs.
Yeah, my friends would come in and see me with that short-haired wig, and their mouths would drop open, and they'd start laughing so hard. But hey, okay, here we go. Dan McNew, our co-host, has just joined us. How you doing, Dan?
Technical difficulties.
I know. I can imagine after what you just did with that Dimebag tribute.
I think I wore my computer out.
Dan, great video, though, man. Great
thanks,
video.
Michael.
Yeah.
So we started out talking about Woodstock Music Festival and how it impacted on my generation. And a lot of people don't know it. Maybe most people do. Woodstock wasn't held at Woodstock. It was held in Bethel, New York, Yasug's dairy farm. How do you say that? Yasgur's, I'm sorry, dairy farm. An estimated 400,000 in attendance, and I've heard estimates higher, but there's a lot of people there, and it didn't get kicked off on the first day until 5 o'clock, and it kicked off with Richie Havens, a lesser known musician that I loved ever since seeing the Woodstock film. In fact, I saw Richie Havens live when I was living in Long Beach, downtown Long Beach, at the Fox Theater. And you've never seen anything like this. This guy was absolutely amazing. He came out dressed in a full suit with a tie, and he played an acoustic guitar all by himself, and he hopped up and down on both feet through the entire performance. And I kid you not, at the end of the show, his suit was completely drenched in sweat from hopping up and down through a hour and a half performance. It was one of the craziest things I ever witnessed in my life. But the show got kicked off with Richie Havens. I'm not even going to try to remember, didn't try to even memorize all the names of the groups that were there. Many of my favorites and many that became favorites were there. But I'll read off. After Richie Havens, I'll just go through this real quickly. Melanie played, Tim Hardin, Ravi Shankar, who spent some time with the Beatles, Arlo Guthrie. I really enjoyed Arlo Guthrie, and a couple of others. But I got to tell my favorite Woodstock story right now. Okay. And this is a story on day two. On day two, both Jerry Garcia from the Grateful Dead and Carlos Santana from Santana. Now keep in mind, Santana was opening for the Grateful Dead at all their concerts at the time. They didn't have a single album out. Santana had no albums out, but they were invited to Woodstock. Santana came out, and they were at the airport, and Jerry Garcia waved and he goes, "Hey, Carlos, come over here," So Carlos went over, and Jerry says, "Hey, listen, Carlos, you guys want some acid? I brought some acid." Well, they were all used to dropping acid together because they played together and on tours together. And Carlos goes, "Oh, no, man, I don't have no idea when we're going to go on. And the last thing I need to do is be frying on acid when we get called to go on stage." Carlos goes, No, I know what the lineup is. We're not going on for another 9 hours, and you're going on after us. So Carlos goes, "Oh, okay." So he gave enough acid for the whole band. And they all got to the concert. And what happened was the traffic was so screwed up that people were having a hard time even getting there, including performers. In fact, there was miles and miles and miles of cars where people finally got fed up waiting in line, slammed their car doors, and just walked to the concert for miles. So all the roads were clogged. People couldn't get in. And Carlos Santana and his band is sitting backstage. They just dropped acid about 2 hours earlier, and they're just frying. They can barely see all past all the patterns and colors before them. And somebody knocks on the door and walks in and goes, "Santana, you're up." And they go, "What?" "Yeah, we have some of the people haven't been able to make it yet. You're on." And I'm sure everybody here has watched Santana's performance, in particular the song "Soul Sacrificed." I was like, Santana was like my favorite band at the end of that concert. I mean, they did a fantastic job, and under those circumstances, it just completely blows me away. In fact, people got together. It was all about peace and love. The conditions were a little harsh. There was rain. There was mud. There was people really showing off peace and love and having sex all over the place. And and there was lack of water, lack of food, no sanitary conditions. It was kind of harsh, but in spite of all that, some people say what kept it peaceful was the fact that everybody was using drugs. In fact, they were making continuous announcements over the PA system. "Don't eat the brown acid. Do not touch the brown acid," and this kind of stuff. that story about Carlos Santana.
Rumors of bad licorice, man.
That's probably my favorite story, Carlos Santana and Jerry Garcia. But also playing on the second day, we had Country Joe McDonald. I love that Vietnam song he did. "Whoopee, we're all gonna die, and it's 1, 2, 3. What are we fighting for?" That was a great song. I've been looking for the album that's got on it. I haven't been able to find it. John Sebastian, he was a great player. We had Santana, of course. We just talked about Santana. Canned Heat. I was a big fan of Canned Heat.
Canned Heat was my very first concert ever.
Oh, I loved Canned Heat.
Yeah.
I saw them too at the Las Vegas Convention Center when I was a teenager.
Canned Heat and Quicksilver Messenger Service.
Right. Yeah. And the James Gang, they were in there too. Mountain was a great band. And that Mississippi Queen was like one of their big hits. Mountain. That was a really good band. I really
Leslie West, fantastic guitarist.
Right.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Credence Clearwater Revival to this day remains one of my favorite bands. In fact, I love Credence so much that when I got my first car, 16 years old, I put a little 8-track tape deck in it, and below that I had a light bar that pulsated, to the beat. I never realized just how much that light bar showed until I saw someone else going down the freeway, going the other way with one on. It was like a total light show coming out of the windows. I was like, oh my God. America, I didn't get pulled over any more often than I did. Credence Clearwater Revival, great band. I bought 2 8-tracks, my first 2 ever. One was Credence Clearwater, the other one was the Cream Disraeli Gears. The first 2 8-tracks I ever bought. Anyway, Cream wasn't there, obviously. Janice Joplin, big fan of Janice Joplin. Sly and the Family Stone. I saw Sly and the Family Stone twice in concert at the Hollywood Palladium, which is a fairly, medium to small venue, and they were fantastic. If you've never seen Sly perform live, he comes out after the show when everybody else goes in the back room, and he starts dancing around and singing, and he'd dance around for a while and do all these antics and yell, "I want to take you higher," and everybody would just explode, and he'd do that 3 or 4 times, dancing around and singing and stuff. And so we had Sly and the Family Stone, The Who, My Generation, baby, Jefferson Airplane, and that pretty much concluded day 2. But what an amazing festival. In fact, the concert was even held over a little bit because they were waiting. Jimi Hendrix came late. I think he actually played the following day, some in the morning.
It was like Monday morning.
Yeah, Monday morning. Exactly.
Exactly.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, I just said no. Yeah, Monday morning. I was agreeing with Zep Earl.
I know Zep Earl's going to be a world of knowledge. I'm really looking forward to it. So here we are. Day 3. We had Country Joe and the Fish. 10 years after. Who didn't love Alvin Lee doing 10 years after? What a fantastic performance. Came out there with that big Gibson E335, the red one, and just tore it up. The band.
Fastest guitar players alive, Alvin Lee.
And you don't hear much about
his
him.
Speed.
Yeah.
Oh man.
Yeah.
His speed. Just bullet. What was the name of the Going Down by Jeff Beck? That's blazing fast. That's one of the fastest solos alive, right? Alvin Lee just played like that all the time, man. But buttery smooth.
That's great. No, he was really talented. I had several. I had a bunch of his music back in the day. I don't have any now, but I'm going to get some.
Definitely get that live album.
Oh, do you? Oh, awesome.
Yeah, the recorded live. Definitely get that if you see it.
I can see your collection behind you, man. It's just amazing.
Yeah.
I was recently given 160 CDs. I hadn't really been collecting CDs, only vinyl, which is around the corner on shelves. But I mean, it was just like a treasure trove. 7 Pink Floyds. Some Zeppelin, some Hendrix, a double album of the band, and the Pink Floyds included The Wall and, all of them, pretty much. But anyway, so there's a bunch of, I might even make a little short video about that haul, and another one about some damaged albums. The albums were all damaged and stuck together because they were in a storage shed and they got rained on. So I've been getting the albums apart and cleaning them up, and they all played well, but a lot of really good stuff was in there. But anyway, back to Woodstock. So we had, Blood, Sweat, and Tears, Crosby, Stills, Nash & Young, Paul Butterfield Blues Band, Sha Na Na, and then Jimi Hendrix closed the show. Now, I got a little list here of musicians that declined to perform at Woodstock. We had Simon and Garfunkel turned it down. Led Zeppelin turned it down.
Yes, they did.
Heartbreaking. Bob Dylan turned it down. The Byrds turned it down. The Byrds were a great band. The Moody Blues, The Doors, Roy Rogers, John Lennon, Chicago Transit Authority, the Rolling Stones, and they all turned it down. So anyway,
I'd speak up for Led Zeppelin. They had dates already booked, and Peter Grant felt that those festivals, he felt the band would just kind of get lost in the shuffle kind of thing. He just wanted them to be the main focus all the time.
Yeah,
that's just the way he managed.
It was kind of smart marketing, but then again,
it didn't hurt him.
Yeah. Then again, you look at a band like Santana, didn't have a single album out, came out huge stars.
Yeah,
completely different than Led Zeppelin. But
also with Led Zeppelin, they didn't play at Woodstock, but Woodstock wasn't the only concert that was on that circuit that year. There was also the Texas Music Pop Festival in Louisville, which is right down the street from me right now. Then you had one in Atlanta. I think there's
they did the Atlanta Pop.
Yeah. So I think there's like 4 or 5 concerts on that circuit. Zeppelin didn't play at Woodstock, but they played right down the street in Louisville. At the Texas Pop Festival.
I'll never forgive myself for not seeing Zeppelin in concert because I was a huge fan. We used to stand around. I went to a high school that was in basically like Las Vegas, still in Henderson, but it was out there, and it was a high school, trade school, and junior college wrapped into one. You could take your last 2 years of high school there and take a vocation instead of a bunch of electives.
Mm-hmm.
And so me and my friends had to get out of Henderson's basic high school. So we all went out to, and we're all out there with all the Vegas guys. And I mean, you talk about a mixed bag of people out there. I was in a class with a guy that was the flying trapeze act at Circus Circus. He was in his 50s, him and his family, the Walendas or whatever they were called, with a trapeze act. And he knew he couldn't do it forever, so he's learned to be an auto mechanic. But I mean, that's kind of a mixed bag of people, but we're all huge music fans. We used to stand outside between classes and basically talk about Led Zeppelin often, and that was when 68 and one had come out, but it wasn't getting played because there were no singles, on the top 40 radio station in town. And it wasn't until Led Zeppelin 2 hit with Whole Lotta Love that everybody went completely apeshit over Led Zeppelin. And a lot of people didn't realize there was a Led Zeppelin 1 because they both came out in 69, fairly close together. Led Zeppelin 1 was a pretty short project because they were already playing all those songs when they were touring as the New Yardbirds, or most of them anyway. But anyway, what have you guys got to say about Woodstock, or we'll just move on to whatever big concert you want to talk about?
Royce, I was going to say, I really regret not seeing Led Zeppelin 2, and I'll tell you, my story is, at the time, I think you and I are about the same age. You say you were, you were a sophomore in 69. Yeah, I was a freshman. So
okay.
We're close. And I had just gotten married, and I was in a band, and that's how I made my money. So I also was doing, janitorial. And so me and my friends all got together one night, and we hit every theater in town. That's what we cleaned, theaters, right?
Okay. Oh.
So we could go to, and this is in Santa Rosa, California. So we could go to the Emporium at Credence and stand in line for damn near 24 hours to get Led Zeppelin tickets. $22.50 I paid for my Led Zeppelin tickets.
No.
And that's when Robert's son died, and it was canceled.
Yeah,
bad news, man. Bad news.
Mine's the same story with the 1980. I just missed them.
Well, I saw them in '77. It must have been right before you, Michael. They were originally scheduled. This was in San Diego, and I was in the Navy at the time, and I think the tickets were like $7, something like that. They weren't that expensive, but I didn't have any tickets, so we ended up going down to the stadium, to the arena, the day of the concert, and I bought 2 tickets, $25 a piece, and $25 to a serviceman in 1977 was a lot of money, So it was great seeing him. It was one of the best concerts I ever went to, And then it was like a month later is when Robert Plant's son passed away. And and that was one of the last times that the original Led Zeppelin ever performed, I believe,
in the U.S. Yeah,
in the U.S. Yeah,
that's right. Yeah,
My uncle would tell me he went to see them here in Chicago, and he actually went to the night where they did that, where Page passed out like 20 minutes into the set or whatever. He was at that show and then seen him before. So he would tell me stories about it and just how crazy fans were in the Chicago Stadium at the time too. Firecrackers and just it was just nuts. Wow. So, but I mean, he just said when there was no other band that could touch him when he saw him live. Because I think seen him on the '75 tour, and then that '77 tour where Page got sick that night. So
you talk about fireworks. That was one of the issues we had at the Zeppelin concert that I went to. It was in June, right before 4th of July, so everybody's buying fireworks, and of course they snuck them into the arena. And the way the arena was, you had these fold-out seats that came out from the side of the arena, and they had, you had box seats. Well, you could somehow get underneath those seats. Somebody went under the seats, and they had these row of firecrackers, and they're lighting them and running, lighting more, and just going around the whole arena doing it. Then somebody threw a whole string of them up on the stage. Robert Plant stopped the concert and said, "That happens one more time, we're out of here."
Yeah, they hated that.
Well, I tell you what, everybody was watching. Don't you dare.
I tell you, I must be getting old because every time someone tells me a story, it reminds me of a story. They don't all really relate that well, so I'm not going to get into it.
Yeah, I have tickets from the canceled 1980 Chicago show here. But yeah, I just missed them. I just, when they sent those out, and then I think on the day that Bonham died, the newspaper came out that day with the ad to get the tickets that same day. So by the morning, everybody's rushing to get the paper so they can get the ad or to send in the money for their tickets. By the end of the night, we learned that Bonham died, and we're like,
wow.
So
I would have kept that newspaper.
It's a very collectible item in the Zeppelin world. Yeah. And I knew one guy that had it, and for years I've been hounding him. Come on, man, sell me that thing, would you?
I'll tell you something right now. If the remaining members of Zeppelin ever got together and maybe took Jason Bonham with them or something like they had before and went on concert, I'd sell my car to go see them if I had to.
I was going to say, I've been critical of bands touring with half the members, no members, and everything else.
Yeah,
and
exactly.
I'm also pissed off by, you guys have seen some of my videos. I've got my scruffles or whatever it is, right? And
right.
For Led Zeppelin, I would sell my left toe. I'll tell you, that's the one time, I'd pay exorbitant ticket prices. I would, give away everything I ever stood for, just to see them. And yes, there's no Bonham, but man, what a show that would be, man.
Oh yeah, I was at work when the tickets were going on sale for that O2 show in 2007. I had about 5 fellow employees on computers trying to just get tickets, and I didn't know how the heck I was going to get to England. I didn't know what the tickets were going to cost, but I tried, man.
Isn't that crazy?
It's a double-edged sword with me. I would love to see it, but then I don't.
Yeah.
So
guys, throw out your favorite big venue. I threw out Woodstock. Maybe it's everybody else's favorite too. But let's just hear what everybody.
I saw the Who at the Cow Palace when Keith Moon passed out, and they brought the drummer up. That was actually brought up. PBS ran a special a few years ago, the 50 top moments in rock, right? And that was one of them. So I was there, but I don't remember much because I think I was about as bad off as Keith was that night. Wild turkey and anything else consumable, and but I was impressed with the young drummer. He had he got an entire career out of it, man.
Yeah. Again, every time somebody tells a story, it reminds me of a couple. But anyway, who wants to go next with one of their legendary concerts, big ones that they attended? I mean, I have a lot of small venues and other things to talk about, but I'd like to hear what everybody felt was their favorite large concert or venue.
Well, if you talk about a personal concert that I've actually gone to besides Zeppelin, would have to be the Rolling Stones in was it 91 or 92 for their Steel Wheels tour concert.
Yeah.
And it was here in Dallas. It was held in the Cotton Bowl. What was a capacity of 80,000 people.
Right.
And they knew there was going to be such a demand for the tickets that you had to go down like 2 weeks before the tickets went on sale and get a wristband put on. And each wristband was numbered. They got the number and they put it in a big pot.
Wow.
Well, two weeks later, you go down to the ticket. This is way before the internet. So you had to go down to the ticket agency, the headquarters, and there must have been 10,000 people at the ticket headquarters. And they drew the number. It was my wristband. And I was number one in line. And I got I got 6 front row center tickets in the Cotton Bowl for the Stones. I mean, best concert ever. But I tell you what, I have much more respect for people that sit on the front row when they got flash pots going off. Those things are hot, even on the front row.
Right.
But that was one of the dream concerts, being on front row. I mean, I was so close, I could see Mick Jagger sweating. I could hear him without the microphone. That's
crazy. You don't get to do that very often.
Now, as far as
that close to McCartney, 76 at the Cow Palace Wings Over America tour, and festival seating, and Fortune Favors the Brave. I mean, I was right there, 7 feet away from him as he played yesterday. Amazing. My most treasured moment.
I'm envious because at that time when that concert tour was going on in '76, I was stationed overseas in Guam, and I'm a McCartney fan, and I'm thinking, oh my God, if I could be back in the States to see McCartney. It wasn't until 1990, I think I finally saw him in 1990 at Texas Stadium.
Okay.
I saw him on that tour. He was in Berkeley that time, and they set new sound levels. Everybody complained. They tried to get the concert shut down. But here's the difference. I paid probably, $20 to see him the first time, Wings. And this time it was like $150 for the 89.90. Dan, do you recall what the tickets were going for?
I got
at that
mine.
time?
Face value for mine was $35.
Okay, so maybe it wasn't as much. And this time he was this small, and you watched him on the large screen TVs, and I said never again. So that's why, these rafter nosebleed ticket things. You guys, I don't care who it is. I am not going to pay $250 to watch a damn television.
No.
That's just not going to happen for me anymore.
Right.
That's something I used to always wonder about when I was a kid, before my military service and all that. I went to concerts all the time. But no matter how hard I tried, I always end up in the balcony. Always into the balcony. I go, how do those people get those tickets down there? It used to drive me crazy. And over the years, I found out how a lot of those tickets are sold to corporations, and and they reserve a bunch set aside. But I never could get floor tickets.
Well, it's called now. They're calling it dynamic pricing. This is what Ticketmaster calls it: dynamic pricing based on need. In other words, a ticket that'll sell that Charlie buys at 8 o'clock for $100, and his wife goes in at an hour later, and they sell it to her for $500 because demand went up. All right, and they say, and then they claim this is the way they combat scalping. Guys, do you guys recall what a scalper is?
Oh yeah.
They use dynamic.
Oh yeah.
They use dynamic pricing, right? Am I right or what?
Well,
they're scalping.
Yeah,
Ticketmaster, you're a
it's professional scalping. Scalping.
They out-scalp.
Only the corporations get the
I want to do
now.
a quick shout out. We have Rachel's Ghost in the chat. I invited her
Rachel.
on. She just wants to hang in the chat tonight. And everybody say hi to Rachel. I want to let everybody know that doesn't already know that Rachel's Ghost, she has a fantastic show, just like Zep Pearl and Michael Nolan and Dan McNew. Rachel's got a great show. She's got a big following. And I've had a lot of fun there in the chat. And I've had a lot of fun having her on the show a few times as well. It seems like whenever
Rachel, a shout out, and I'm going to do that. And by the way, Rachel shouted me out today, even showed a portion of one of my videos. I got about 10 or 15 subscribers off of that. So thank you, Rachel.
Yeah, she has a great show running on there.
Yeah.
I told her I might be able to help her, and she's helped me more than I think I have her.
So Zep Pearl, tell us about one of your favorite bigger venues.
Yeah, there's so many, but I guess, I have to go when the first time that Page and Plant toured, when they came through. That was a big deal for me. Also kind of half with that when Robert Plant did his first solo tour.
Oh, yeah.
He in 83. So, like I said, I just missed Zeppelin. Right. When you guys were talking about Woodstock, I was about 2 years old. So I missed all the good stuff of the 70s. But I mean, I know that Woodstock concert, like I've been there almost, because I've seen the film so many times, got the soundtrack. Queen in 1980 here, venues like that. So the Monsters of Rock tour with it was Van Halen, Scorpions, Metallica, Kingdom Come. That was a big deal, and they kicked it off up here in Alpine Valley.
What year was that?
88.
88. Okay.
88. Yeah, that one.
Because I was going to mention Monsters of Rock when we talk about it. Continue talking. I got a story about Monsters of Rock.
Yeah. Okay. But yeah, I mean, there's just so many good shows. But one that I didn't get to attend, but it was a big deal to me and us heavy metal kids of the early '80s was the S Festival.
Oh yeah.
The second day, the Metal Day, and because they were like broadcasting parts of that on MTV and stuff, and that was like kind of metal, kind of that music getting into the mainstream a little. Yeah. They had their own day.
Yeah,
they had
Van Halen in there. Yeah.
Van Halen, Quiet Riot, Motley Crue, Motley Crue on there before even Shout of the Devil came out. You had Ozzy, obviously, Judas Priest. Right. That was a big deal. That was one of those, kind of moments in metal, I think.
Yeah.
Now, the Oz Festival, was that put on by the Apple guy?
Yeah, he did it 2 years. There was an 82 one and an 83. And 83 had the Metal Day. And then it was like a 3-day thing. And then 82 was a similar thing, like 4 days or whatever.
Nice. Well, another thing, the next one I want to bring up, this is more of a band than a venue, but I'll mention both the venues I saw them at. 1972, I'd been living in Long Beach for about a year and moved there from Henderson, Nevada, just outside of Vegas. And the Rolling Stones came to town. And it was called the American Tour, but we like to think of it as the Exile on Main Street Tour. I've also heard it referred to as that. That's what I refer to it as. And so they came to the Long Beach Arena. Me and my roommates, all from Henderson, had tickets, and a bunch of our friends from Vegas bought tickets, and we're all at the concert together. And what a fantastic time. I mean, to see the Stones. It was Long Beach Arena is a fairly big venue. We had decent seats, but the opener for them was Stevie Wonder. And the Stevie Wonder from like the mid 60s and even early 60s, he had so much good stuff out. I stumbled across a few tapes and I started listening to him to death. I mean, I really got into Stevie Wonder, but the interesting thing was people were so jacked up about the Rolling Stones at that concert at the Long Beach Arena. And I know if some of you probably heard me tell the story before, that when Stevie Wonder was playing, they didn't dim the lights. People were still walking up and down, talking loudly. I mean, there was like a lot of noise in the room, and Stevie just, he toughed it out. He played 6 or 7 or 8 songs and said, "I'm going to get out of here and let you hear the band you came to hear." And he got up and left. And I felt really bad because he's such a fantastic performer and such a talented man. In fact, when I did a Rolling Stones unboxing, I started out unboxing greatest hits just because of that. And I told people why I was unboxing Stevie Wonder at a Rolling Stones show. Okay, but anyway, so I saw the Stones in Long Beach Arena, 72. Then I had tickets, so Betty and I went up to Portland, Oregon, and saw the Bridges to Babylon tour in 1998. And we drove the whole way. It took forever. And drove the whole way back. Betty wanted to fly. I don't want to spend the money flying. Let's drive. Boy, was I sorry I did that. But anyway, it was a long-ass drive. And one of the funniest things about that, Betty said, the big, because Betty was at the concert, in Long Beach too. Betty goes, the biggest difference between that concert and this one is the size of the panties the girls are throwing up on stage.
The quote of the night.
I love that story. Okay, I'll cede to somebody else now.
You talk about Stevie Wonder. It kind of reminds me of a meme that I saw the other day. It's a picture of a concert arena, and the picture is towards the audience. There's a guy holding up a sign that says, "We love you, Stevie Wonder." And the meme said, "Should somebody tell him?"
The same thing I think that happened to Stevie Wonder happened with Prince when Prince opened up for the Stones. On people were like booing him, and he got such a bad reception. So this is obviously before Prince got into the stratosphere, maybe his first or second record. But the same thing. It was the Stones were like big fans. They all the same thing with Wonder, but it was the crowd just didn't take to it. They wanted the Stones and nothing else.
Right.
Well, one of the biggest concerts that I'd like to talk about, I didn't attend it, but it almost made it did make international news. We'll talk about Monsters of Rock a minute ago. It was Monsters of Rock Moscow in September 91. It was Metallica, AC/DC, Pantera, Black Crowes, and I think there was one other band. But that was one of the first outdoor concerts that Russia had ever had. They had never seen anything like that before. And, you think Woodstock was big at 500,000. There were estimated 1.6 million people at this concert.
Oh, yeah.
1.6 million.
There's actually some bigger ones than that, too. I think somewhere in South America or something.
Brazil packs them in at those.
Oh, yeah, Brazil does.
Yeah. I have those written down somewhere. I was thinking about doing a separate show on the world's largest,
But that was the first time the Russians, young kids, had ever been exposed to live music like that. And it's just a coincidence, that now the government didn't want it. They tried to stop the concert.
Right.
But that was during the time where the USSR was having issues and is about to fall. 3 months later, you figure, you got this heavy metal concert. 3 months later, the USSR collapses.
I go, and all of Eastern Europe becomes free.
And it's like, did this concert have something to do with it? When you have 1.6 million people out there showing, that this is another generation coming up. And
exactly.
So I think that I don't know how much it helped, but I think it helped a little bit.
I think it probably did too. I mean, it just really You know, not often in Russia did they get to see how the rest of the world is living.
Yeah.
And what the youth of the rest of the world is doing and listening to and things like that. And it just really kind of, I'm sure it just blew all their minds to see that.
Well, I'll tell you what, they had a lot of military at that concert.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, they were standing wall to wall, and you know, right. And they weren't hesitant about using their billy clubs either. I mean, that people were getting billy club, people were getting drug out.
Oh,
I mean,
wow.
it was rough. You know,
it was military. They had the military basically as security.
Yeah, they didn't like it. They didn't like it to happen. They wanted to keep those kids behaved, and I think pretty much what I saw, the kids that were behaving were getting beat too. So I don't know.
Oh, no kidding. Those Russians, you know.
But I'm a little biased on it since, you know, I knew the Pantera guys, you know, and that's still probably one of the biggest audience. Well, now they say when Pantera performed at the time, they estimate the crowd was about 750,000, but still 750,000 people, you know, and here's a little band out of Texas. And, you know, that was amazing. And that's something that they thought about, you know, they still think about that concert.
Wow. Well, you know, I've got another biggie that I need to, well, first of all, I got a couple of fun pictures of Woodstock here. You know, Carlos Santana, Jimi Hendrix, and Janice Joplin. But look at this ocean of people at Woodstock. I mean, that's just, to me, that's an incredible picture. But the one I wanted to bring up next, Betty and I went to this live, and Dan knows Michael Altini, and Michael Altini was also at this concert live, California Jam 1. And
all right.
You talk about a lineup: Deep Purple, Black Sabbath. So it was the second time I'd seen Black Sabbath. Black Oak, Arkansas, Rare Earth, Emerson, Lake and Palmer, Sills and Croft, the Eagles. Are you kidding me? The Eagles, and Earth, Wind and Fire. And as a side note here, they at the time,
what is Seals and Croft doing on that bill?
Linda Lovelace was very well known at the time. A helicopter landed, and she came up on stage and started talking to everybody. And if you remember the movie Deep Throat, that was Linda Lovelace.
Who are you talking about?
Linda. Yeah.
What was she doing? Delivering
those kind of movies?
Yeah, it's
right.
Everybody went to go see that.
It was crazy. And what was miserable about it, though, 350,000 people on a, 100+ degree day packed in like sardines. And I was just sitting there frying in the sun, getting a bad sunburn. And so a helicopter went overhead and dropped all these little, paper, things you could put on, kind of like a hat. But anyway, and I reached up to grab one, and some gal just leaped up in the air and snatched it practically right out of my hand. But we just sat there and fried in the sun. But anyway, there was a lot of good acts there, and we enjoyed it. We didn't go to California Jam 2 for reasons I've already explained, but it was a good show, and there was a lot of great talent there.
Now, one thing I learned fairly early about those outdoor concerts, you can only do so many of those, especially in Texas.
Yeah.
I mean, the very first one I ever went to, outdoor concert, was in the Cotton Bowl in 1978. It was the first outdoor concert me and my wife had ever gone to. She was my girlfriend at the time.
Right.
So as a girlfriend, it was our first outdoor concert date. Okay. And that was the first one in Texas in about 6 or 7 years, because Texas didn't want to allow it. There was one in down in Austin with ZZ Top performed at, and there was some type of incident down there, and they said no more outdoor concerts. So after 6 or 7 years, they finally, talked to people in Dallas to do it in the Cotton Bowl. And so we're all virgins at these outdoor concerts, not realizing that in the heat of the day on July 4th in Dallas, Texas, it got to 120 degrees on the floor. Wow. And, in between sets, they literally had fire hoses, shooting it out in the audience, trying to cool everybody down.
That's amazing.
And the sunburn was the worst sunburn I ever had in my life.
Oh, yeah.
But we learned after that concert, okay, we know what to expect the next concert. So became a little more prepared. And you kind of become a veteran after a while on these outdoor concerts. Then I got to the age I said, I'm done with that. It's not really worth it. And then it's what's funny, my daughter, she finally got old enough where she can go to these outdoor concerts. My wife and I try to convince her, you need to bring this, you got to do this, got to do that. Don't tell me what to do. She came home the next day just almost dead, just sunburned. She goes, you were right.
Yeah.
We're veterans. Growing up back there in the Nevada desert, did I get some sunburns? In fact, I was 18 years old. I'd moved to Long Beach. I found a friend of mine that was already living there found me an apartment with a 1-car garage because I had a Harley Davidson. And so I left my Harley at my parents' house. I went back to get it. And like a complete idiot in the middle of the afternoon with a headband on, long hair with a headband, and a tank top, I rode my Harley back to Long Beach. And I'll tell you what, for the next 3 or 4 years, every once in a while, that stripe would appear where the headband was burned so bad. And the tank top that kind of draped kind of low. I mean, even now there's some stuff I want to have a dermatologist take a look at pretty soon. It's starting to grow, you know. And that was all where I got all that skin damage from riding my Harley back to California. But anyway, all right, who wants to go next and talk about some bands?
Well, I'll tell you the one that really surprised me. Now, I thought this happened. I would have swore this was like 72, 73, and evidently it was 75, which proves I was there for the 60s right there. But I saw Queen at Winterland in San Francisco, and I didn't know Queen at all. You know, like I said, in those days, I'd go to 2 or 3 concerts a week, practically lived outside Winterland. And I was just so thoroughly blown away by them. I went home. I immediately bought the album Queen 2 and their first one, and was a fan from that point on. And then a few years later, 79-ish, they were playing in the East Bay. I think it was the Orpheum Theater across the bay from San Francisco.
There's one of those in Los Angeles, too.
Yeah. And anyway, wherever it was a theater. And me and my friend proclaimed a couple of tickets. And this time, now they were amazing at Winterland. They were so amazing that I went hunting for their albums the very next day. I mean, I was there at the record shop the second it opened, right? By this time, though, not a day at the races, but a night at the opera was out and was full blast and everything. Tickets to see them were like 5 times more than they were. But this was Queen, as good as you've ever seen Queen in any performance. I don't care, even Freddie's last great performance, you know, that he's known for and everything. I'm telling you, and it was a theater. It was a large theater,
right?
But my God, what a show! And you had your own seat. I knew right then, 1979, there was going to be no more anything beyond like 30,000 for me. That's the largest I would consider to go to. No more of these huge, because it was just too good of an experience to have to go and deal with all, the concert nonsense.
Yeah, I would see them a year later in 1990, but it was like a 12,000 seat.
I'm talking about they were at their best during that time, right?
Fantastic.
Yeah.
And you look at that set list, it's like every song, big song, every big song.
I saw Queen in December of '77. News of the World had just come out. Love that album. We Will Rock You. And I mean, they kind of exploded after that as well.
Yeah. Yeah. The Game was the album they toured on when I saw them. And look at that. I mean, they had like 5 hits on that thing. So.
Yeah.
Great. That's one of my little aces in the deck there, seeing Queen.
One of the shows I wanted to bring up, and it was the second tour under this same name, and there were other tours afterwards. It was called A Tribute to Hendrix, and they assembled all the greatest guitar players they could find, all to come together and play Hendrix songs with their own bands, and then they'd all come out in groups and play, which was just fantastic. I mean, you had like Joe Satriani, Eric Johnson, Buddy Guy. I mean, the list was just like a who's who and great guitar players. And I saw that show the first time in 2010 at the Arlington Theater in Santa Barbara. And oh my God, I got to tell you, I have a favorite story from everybody was fantastic. I mean, all these premier guitar players playing Hendrix songs. It was unbelievable. I mean, Brad from Aerosmith was there, Whitworth or I can't think of how
Whitford.
Whitford. Thank you. Yeah, he was there. I mean, just so many great guitar players. Billy Cox, who played with Hendrix, bass. And anyway, so this was my favorite story from that show. It was all good. Every one of them was great. But Ernie Isley, his dad was one of the original Isley brothers, and Jimi Hendrix played for the Isley brothers and lived with Ernie Isley's dad, mom, well, the family, Ernie too, for 4 or 5 years while he played with them. And Ernie goes, he came out to play. He goes, when I was a little kid, Jimi Hendrix lived with us. He played in my dad's band, the Isley Brothers. I'm like, what? I never heard that story before. And he goes, and he used to give me guitar lessons. And I'm like, oh my God. And all of a sudden, Ernie started playing, and I thought I was listening to Jimi Hendrix. It just blew me away. And if you look him up, YouTube, Ernie Isley, you'll find out he's a pretty reputable, well-known, great guitar player. But that story,
the one that played lead guitar for the Isley Brothers during the 70s.
No, this was a kid.
Because we always used to call him Little Hendrix. I mean, that's how we referred to him. Because their guitar player during that time, there was some hot solos on their singles and everything.
Well, maybe it was. Maybe it was. I stopped. I was a huge soul fan, like around 60, 67, 68. Early 69, and it was kind of for a while there was all we listened to, and I like to say that if anybody's ever heard the Dock of the Bay more times than I have, I'll introduce me to him because I want to shake his hand. And I was just, and we listened to the Isley Brothers and the Temptations, and I mean I saw the Temptations and the Four Tops together in concert twice. They came out and played separately, then came out and played together. And for there was a while there where it was kind of like just all soul music for us, and all of a sudden, boom! It kind of got psychedelic, and we kind of left soul in the dust. But I still have it, and I still listen to it, and still love it today. But anyway, so that was a story. If you want the funniest video I see anywhere is Jimi Hendrix playing with. Okay, who's the band that did Shotgun? Junior Walker and the All-Stars. Jimi Hendrix playing guitar with Junior Walker and the All-Stars. I mean, go on YouTube and Google the video of Jimi Hendrix. I think it's the first recorded video of Jimi Hendrix playing in a band. And he's back there, and the two frontmen for Junior Walker and the All-Stars, you'll fall out of your chair laughing at their dancing, and they're pumping the shotgun and dancing all crazy. And Jimi Hendrix is back there with the horn section and the bass player, and they've all got suits on, and they're all in cadence, rocking back and forth. And of course Hendrix is really bored with shit like that, so he'd be playing, let me get my hand the right way, and he'd turn his hand around and start playing upside down, then flip it back and flip it back, because it's just kind of boring rocking back and forth with the horn section. Mm-hmm. Anyway, have a look at that. You'll get a kick out of it.
I think one of the, we get to talk about legendary concerts that we went to and, history making concerts. I'd like to add another category in there, enjoyable concerts, which probably the most enjoyable concert I ever went to, where I was comfortable during the whole show. And, was Boston, when Boston first came out.
Okay.
It was something about that they were just a comfortable band. I mean, I had pretty good seats for it. And if their album had only been out, 2 months? The very first album had only been out about 2 months.
Right.
And the only reason I bought the album, I was at the Navy Exchange, and I see this first album, and I go, man, that is cool looking. I go, it's a flying saucer. And I noticed immediately, no, it's a guitar, man. And just the album cover impressed me, so I bought it. And then I found out, oh, this is the same music I've been listening to on the radio. And next thing I know, I see a little article, Boston, in concert with the Runaways. I go, oh, I got to see them. And it's only about a 1,200 seat arena, theater. And so we're up close, and it was none of this typical rock concert stuff where people were lighting cups on fire, and all that. It was just nice, quiet, and listening to beautiful Boston music. It was great.
That's awesome.
One of my favorites.
Yeah. I'll segue with that. And one of my favorite shows, too, was Boston when they did the Third Stage album. I was lucky enough to see them on that 87 tour up at Alpine Valley. And I mean, I think they had like four sold out nights up there. And, nowadays you don't hear that too much where bands are doing multiple nights,
Yeah.
But back then that was a big deal for us, because they had that, what was it, break from between Don't Look Back and Third Stage, in 9 years or something like that. Yeah. So it was a big deal. And, Brad Delp, Schultz. I mean, it was the original guys pretty much. So.
Well, on the third album, no, Barry Goudreau was gone. He got fired.
Yeah, was it? Okay.
Because what had happened, I think I told this story before. When they got through touring after their first album, or after their second album, I think it was like 2 years they were on the road. And Tom Schultz said, I think I'm done, man. He goes, I don't even know if I want to do music anymore. So he said, let's just take a hiatus here, and you guys do what you want to do. We'll get back together sometime in the future. Well, Barry Goudreau said, well, I want to put out an album. So he gets Sib Hashian, the drummer from Boston. He gets Brad Delp from Boston. And then they get Fran Cosmo, who ended up being the singer for Boston on their fourth album. So he puts out an album. And you know what? They're advertising it. Epic Records is advertising it kind of like subliminal that it was Boston. And he said, you've heard his guitar. Now come see the band with the guitar. Tom Schultz caught one of this and said, what's this? He listened to it. And everybody thought it was Boston's next album. And Tom
was that the RTZ album? The RTZ
no, it wasn't RCD. No, it is okay. Barry Goudreau. And I think that's his name, album, Barry Goudreau. I don't think there's really a name to it. But Tom Schultz got a hold of Epic Records and said, you stop promoting that album now. In fact, I don't want you producing it anymore. He said, if you don't stop it, you're not going to get another Boston album. So a lot of that was why there was such a big delay.
Yeah.
In the meantime, he kicked Barry out. I think Sib left too. I think Sib left after the third album. But that's all the members. And Fran, I think he left after the third album as well.
Yeah, that's why I was glad I saw them when they did.
Yeah, because it
was as much as you could get with those guys. Definitely with Brad on vocals still.
Well, they say Tom was very hard to work with. He was he's a perfectionist, and you do what Tom says or you're out. And Tom ended up without a band. Well, he replaced them, but they're not as popular as the original.
Yeah,
and now Boston, I don't think Boston really does anything anymore. Not much. In fact, the current lead singer has been the lead singer for about 7 or 8 years, but they haven't toured in about 6 years. So he's got the current lead singer sounds a whole lot like Brad Delp. Now he's got his own band called Carlo. That's his last name. So they tour as Carlo. And they sound kind of like Boston. I mean, they can imitate Boston, but to me, they're nothing but a tribute band.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I think they did come through here a few years back, and I had no interest because it's kind of relating back to what Michael did on the video there, where it's like, it's a tribute band. It's no different from seeing some kids playing some Boston songs now,
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, that's something I've been dealing with the Pantera tour coming up.
Yeah.
In 2023.
Right. Yeah.
To me, it's
what they
really bothering you having been such great friends with Dimebag Darrell and Vinnie Paul.
Oh, yeah. There you go.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah, that's to me with that. It depends how they do it, I guess. If it's a tribute, that's one thing. If they're gonna treat it like, I can't see them doing it, but I don't see them putting out any new music with that lineup.
No, they better not put out any new music.
I just don't. Yeah, I mean then that's an insult to me. But
yeah.
Is it a cash grab? I don't know. It's like kind of on the fence with it.
Well, it's like Royce had a picture of Paul McCartney and Ringo Starr performing together.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Well, that's the same thing as Pantera. You only got 2 guys left. Do they consider Paul McCartney and Ringo together as a Beatles reunion?
Right. No, I certainly don't.
Exactly.
Yeah, I certainly don't.
Yep.
Ringo was sounding pretty damn good, wasn't he?
Yeah.
Paul McCartney, yeah. Okay, I want to mention a couple of small venues, and I think my favorite one is the smallest one, not surprisingly. But what's surprising is my wife and I we rode the Harley back to the Laughlin River Run, Laughlin, Nevada, and walking down the sidewalk. There's all these casinos. You can get on the little river boats, and they'll take you to the casinos, or you can just walk up and down the sidewalk, whatever you want to do. Both usually. There's always bands playing in all the parking lots and stuff. But anyway, so we're walking along, and there's this little newsstand there with things that are happening in Laughlin. And I grab it, and I'm thumbing through it, and goddamn, I mean, if there's a bigger Eric Burdon in the Animals fan than me, and Eric Burdon and the Animals is playing directly across the street from where we're standing on the sidewalk. And so I immediately called and got tickets. So they weren't I think they might have been $65 a piece. Very small venue. And so we were there the next day. I didn't even know he was still alive, to be honest with you. But I always loved his music, and I still have a bunch of it and still listen to it regularly. So we go across the street, and we go to the concert. And I'll tell you what, when he sang House of the Rising Sun, we were all standing up, and we were all singing at at the top of our lungs. Because I'm telling you, it's a good thing there were so many people doing it, because I've got a terrible voice. But I couldn't help myself to sing House of the Rising Sun, a song I've tried to play virtually my whole life on guitar with Eric Burdon, was just insane to me.
My favorite small venue concert was in Santa Rosa. We had an old theater called the California Theater. It was large enough. It had the balconies, and it was a movie theater. I grew up watching movies in this theater. Was it 76 or 7? They were about ready to demolish it. And so they did a series of concerts there. They just ripped out the movie screen and just built the stage and everything. And I saw Boss Skaggs opened up by Pablo Cruz. Wow. And it was just a small theater.
Right.
God, I was so amazed by how tight Boz. I'd never seen him live before. I had heard his records. I knew he had connections to the Bay Area scene, and I was just so, wow, like, this guy's actually pretty good, Right. I mean, he is, you'd have to see him live to understand what I'm talking about, but smooth.
No, you talk about the small venue. Back in 1992, there's a, what's it called? Guitar Center has a drum area, and they would do drum clinics over there. And I saw Jason Bonham was going to be there. I said, well, I got to check out Jason Bonham, because he was just a kid then. I mean, in 92. And so me and my wife go down there, and there was only like 30 of us in the room. And it was just a little room. And he's got the drum set all set up, and I got a little bit of video of that. And that's back when he had hair. And he had just started his band Bonham, the rock band Bonham. And I remember I was so impressed with his playing. It's like, he would start playing a song and say, tell me what song I'm playing. And it'd always be a Zeppelin song. Mm-hmm. And it's like, oh my God, this is great. And I got to, hang out with him for about an hour afterwards. And that's when he had just found out that his wife was pregnant. His son is full grown now. I mean, and if I was a woman, I'd go after his son, man. He's a good looking guy. I couldn't believe it. But that was cool. But that was cool, meeting Jason Bonham when he was just so young like that. And he was talking about how he had the best teacher in the world.
Yeah.
And something kind of weird in that sort of fashion happened virtually to me in just the last 48 hours. I just did a video on Klaatu. Right?
Oh yeah.
And I understand you're a fan too.
Yes, I am.
Right? Okay, dig this. I've already pinned the comment, so you guys go over to my channel and see this video for this reason only. Terry freaking Draper of Klaatu said thanks, and the biggest what do you call thumbs up I could have gotten from this guy.
Wow,
that's cool.
He said I was accurate. So I do a lot of research for my videos, and to have Terry Draper of Klaatu. By the way, Terry Draper, drummer, sometimes lead vocalist. That's him who starts off the song Calling Occupants. He starts the lead vocals on that, and then Chuck Chuck comes in later, right? But he also co-wrote that song, as well as December Dream off the Magenta Lane album. So, wow, that was just an amazing thing for me.
Wow.
That's cool.
I know.
That's cool.
Yeah, and I went back and saw that, yeah.
It's cool. It's cool when artists like that reach out to you. I had something similar.
Right.
It was right before my wife passed away. And I did a video montage of pretty much our life together. And I picked a song from Boston. And I put the soundtrack on. Of course, immediately YouTube says, "Oh, we're not going to monetize it for you." So I don't care. I don't need it monetized. So, well, Fran Cosmo, the second singer for Boston, saw my video and contacted me. I go, "Oh my God, it's Fran Cosmo," and he was thanking me for using the song that he sang, for my wife's video. And I went, "Wow!" And he said, "Keep me up to date. What's going on?" So, all during my wife's illness up to her death, I was telling them what was going on. And so it's pretty cool when you have an artist reach out to you like that personally.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, going above and beyond like that. It brings that realness to them.
Especially when you're not asking for it. You know, it just happens.
Right.
Exactly. You know, it was interesting interesting, I should say. But what I've been meaning to do that video since I started my channel, and well, actually, I started the channel. If you guys, I don't know, Royce, you may remember, my channel started off being a tech-oriented channel. We used to do, tutorials on how to edit for YouTube. How to light for YouTube, things like that. And that's why I just recently redid my thing on the Beatles Get Back. Because that was just a one-off. I did that. You may have you and I might have hooked up right around that time, Royce. I think that's right around the time I discovered your channel. And so and I had such a great response. I actually got 1,000 views. For me, I was getting maybe 125 views at that time, right? And on a good video. And so that kind of changed the whole complexion of my channel. It really did. That was like, okay, this is what I want to do. You know, I enjoy doing that other stuff, but this stuff speaks to me, and just doing that. And I always wanted to do a thing, but I wanted to kind of get established before I do. I didn't want to come off left field because Klaatu is not known, especially to younger viewers. And really not to a lot of people beyond their first album. They might remember them. Oh yeah, that's the band everybody thought was secretly the Beatles. And they've become a curiosity item in history. And there's so much more than that. They really are. I call them the Gilbert and Sullivan of rock because they have that whimsical humor throughout all of their music. That's pretty much like right out of a Gilbert and Sullivan play,
Yeah, their songs are so unique. I mean, there's one song on there, Sir Rugglesby. Oh my God, that sounds like something off of Sesame Street.
I'll be the only man who's ever been to hell and come back alive.
Yeah,
I love it.
I love it. And then they go from that to Mr. Manson. I love that Mr. Manson song. I mean, that is wow.
Am I God Almighty? Remember that part?
Yeah.
Oh God, that sends chills down.
But the riffs, the guitar riffs are great.
Oh, D Long. One of rock's best guitar players. Do you know on their Endangered Species album, he hardly plays on it because the record company told them, look, we need to update your sound. So Chuck was in favor, and he sounds great on that album. But both Terry and Dee are hardly even on that album. They brought in others like studio guitarists and things. And I'm going, how can you possibly? First of all, Terry Draper has one of the best feels. I mean, he's very like Ringo. He has almost that trip kind of approach to his drumming. But they were bringing in drum machines and the latest studio drummers that were hooked into drum machines and all of that. And then D Long. What? Okay, maybe bring in Hendrix to replace him on a song or two, but D Long? Oh man, the whole band, watch how D plays. Listen to, the whole band does this. They all think symphonically, and D will play his guitar like an oboe, but it's a guitar part, almost playing an oboe part, but it's in distortion. Wow. Guys, give them a listen. I swear, if you give them more than one or two listens, this band was, they were something special. They really were.
Yeah, I have their first album. It's like probably directly behind me, but it's after watching your video too, I was like, I should try to pick up some more of the records.
That first album got me hooked, and I've got all their albums. I got them all.
Yep.
And I just like the fact that not all the songs sound the same. They've all got their own.
Have you gotten Sology? Is that what it's called, Sology yet? I haven't gotten that one. That's got all the alternative takes. It's like a double CD. You can get it from their site, but I want to get that one next. Yeah.
I see Rachel is commenting about Klaatu. That's because they're Canadian.
She was. She brought them up on today's show too.
Really?
And then I think Mazzy too had a promotional copy, and he had an insert of when the label sent it out, and it had something about the Beatles. I didn't see the whole thing, but it had something about they were kind of promoting it in
Well, yeah, it's not so much they were promoting it; they just weren't denying it.
Yeah.
So
I'm gonna throw out some of the more recent concerts I've seen, big or small. And the most recent concert I saw, it was actually July 4th. It was Journey, right here in Paso Robles, 10 miles up the road, at the Paso Robles Fairground. Saw Journey there. I missed out seeing John Fogerty. I missed out seeing Santana. Something happened on both those nights, but I did see Journey. It was a fantastic show. I filmed little snippets of it. Just prior to that, I saw Alice Cooper in April. He played at Vina Robles Amphitheater. No bad seats. You could be above the seats in the grass, and you still had a good seat.
Got to see him. So, I've never seen Alice Cooper.
That was the first time I'd seen it. They did the whole thing. I mean, they did the guillotine thing where they were running around holding his head, and it was. I mean, I'm telling you, I filmed the entire thing and actually played it on Facebook and have it saved. And it was a really. I'm really happy I finally got to see Alice Cooper.
I saw him in 2019, and it was the first time, and the only time I've seen him was 2019. And like you said, it was like, wow, man, this is like Alice in the 70s. He had all that stuff going on, and he sounded great. And,
no, if you know,
I know
I'm jealous.
Ryan Roxy. I've met him several times. He even played when my oldest daughter opened a clothing store in Atascadero. She had Ryan Roxy's band come up from LA and play there. I met him a half a dozen times at least. And he's a fan. Every time I see him, he's better than he was the time before, which was great. He's so fluid on the guitar, Ryan Roxy. And anyway, so it was a fantastic concert. So Journey, Alice Cooper. I saw, let's see, Rod Stewart. I saw Rod Stewart at the Santa Barbara Bowl. I think he's coming back now. And I think, Robert Plant and Alison Krauss, if they haven't just played, they're just getting ready to play at the Santa Barbara Bowl. That would be a great show. Oh my God!
Yeah, if you can afford it.
I know. I don't know what it costs. Maybe
their tickets aren't that expensive. I mean, they'll cost you, your purse, but at least not your bank. What are they?
I saw them in Chicago. I got pretty close. They're about $120.
Okay.
I think that's fair.
A little farther back, you were paying $90. And then it was like an open grass, and it was like $50, $60.
Right. I saw Buddy Guy at the Chumash Casino and at the Avila Blues Festival playing in the tribute to Hendrix concert. So I saw him quite. And Jimi Hendrix once referred to him as, and I've heard Jimi Hendrix refers to a few people as the greatest living guitar player, but he called Buddy Guy the greatest living guitar player. And you could see why when he played. He played Hendrix. I don't know if he was copying Hendrix or Hendrix was copying him, but he was fantastic to watch. I saw B.B. King there too at Chumash. B.B. King was just a lot of fun.
They had the best touch on guitar. That guy, there's no riff that B.B. King played that I can't immediately play on guitar.
Jimmy,
it's his touch, man. It's his feel. Yeah.
I think Jimi Hendrix had a habit of really, praising other guitar players.
Yeah.
Because he did the same thing with Terry Kath from Chicago. He said, Terry Kath is a better guitar player than I am.
Does anybody remember what he said about Led Zeppelin? No. Okay. Yeah. I read something, but I can't remember what it was.
Yeah, there was something, but I don't remember.
Yeah.
But actually, I got a story kind of bleeding off the Buddy Guy.
Oh, good.
I got two of them, actually. I was able to attend his 83rd birthday party here at Buddy's his club Legends, which was just a treat, man, because he was there and he came around and met everybody. Then he jumped on stage. So that was great. But then I want to say it was earlier this month, like August 2nd. It was a weird thing, man. The owner of the Baltimore Colts, the Jim Ursley or whatever his name is, he was putting on a show here, bringing his collection of rock and roll guitars and pop culture, memorabilia to Navy Pier here in Chicago. And they were announcing, the Jim Ursley Band is going to play and feature Ann Wilson of Heart. And they were advertising on the radio as a free show. So I logged in, I got a ticket, and I go, right? It turns out that who was in the band was Mike Mills of REM, Kenny Wayne Shepherd, Kenny Aronoff on drums, and then Ann Wilson, was going to sing, right? Middle of the show, Buddy Guy comes out, and he does about 4 or 5 songs. At the end, they do this big jam, Ann Wilson, the only odd thing was Ann Wilson didn't sing any Heart songs. She sang 2 Zeppelin covers and a Van Morrison cover. I was like, which was really odd. But to see, Mike Mills was singing like R.E.M., Kenny Wayne Shepherd did some songs. He had a great drummer, Kenny Arnoff. Yeah. And it was just a really, unique show that it was just out of the blue that it popped up. So it was kind of neat.
Well, I really love the blues. And years ago, I joined the Blues Society in San Luis Obispo. And out at the Armory, they would have a monthly show. And it'd usually be someone like a good local blues band would open up for a bigger band, And so I was going out there every month to these shows, and it was a lot of fun. And finally, they started advertising that they were going to put on a blues cruise to the Caribbean. So I bought, Betty and I bought tickets, and we went on that blues cruise to the Caribbean. And every night a different blues act played, and that was a lot of fun. It got cut a little short. Somebody had a heart attack, and then one of the venues we got there, and Hurricane Marilyn had come through, and there wasn't even a drop of sand left on any of the beaches. So it wasn't as good as it could have been. And Etta James was.
I guess not.
Etta James was supposed to be the big headliner, and she didn't show up. And when we were supposed to stop at the 3rd private island, that was going to be just a ball. That's when the guy had the heart attack. We just passed it and just headed home. So it was kind of different, but it was still memorable. Let me put it that way. We did get to go to St. Thomas, the Virgin Islands, and the interesting thing about that is that Hurricane Marilyn I just mentioned had pretty much leveled a lot of houses there, and Betty's brother had taken a job with FEMA. It was kind of an interesting job because they could write up the damage on a house, and they could even store them and go do something else, and someone would turn them in for them. They had to do 5 a day or something. You go out and do 20 a day, And he was getting paid well, and so we went there, and they put him up in this really bitchin' place on this bay, and we hung out there for a while, and that was fun. And we'd be driving around, and there'd be these Rasta guys sitting on the porches watching us go by, and Joey would say, "They won't mess with us because they see FEMA on the Jeep, and they know I'm bringing the money in. If they didn't see that, you might be in trouble."
Talking about cruises and bands on a cruise, and we talked about Boston a little while ago. Well, and Barry Goudreau. Well, Barry Goudreau had his band, and they did one of those cruise ships things, performing on the ship.
Yeah.
And he had Sib Hashian, the original drummer for Boston. So they're in this band together playing on a cruise ship. Sib Hashian dies of a heart attack while performing behind the drum set. Yeah. And it kind of tragic, but
Oh yeah.
And here's a little bit of trivia too. Sib Hashian, the original drummer for Boston, has a daughter. I'd never believe who his daughter is married to.
No, I know that answer. Go ahead, tell him. I know that answer. But go ahead.
The Rock.
Yep.
You're kidding me.
No.
No, wait a minute. He was married to the woman that played with Will Smith in that variety comedy show that was on every week. Fresh Prince of Bel-Air. Am I wrong? Am I thinking of the wrong show?
Well, that's a Will Smith show, yeah.
Yeah. Okay. I can't think of her name. She was married to I can't think of his name before she was married to The Rock. Lenny Kravitz.
Who was married to that dude?
No, Lisa Bonet.
Married to Lenny Kravitz.
Lisa Bonet. Yeah, no, she was
on. And now that's who's married to The Rock.
She was on the Bill Cosby show. She was on the Bill Cosby show as the older daughter.
Bill Cosby show. That's exactly right. But isn't that who The Rock's still married to, Lisa Bonet?
No,
that's I think she's married to the guy that did Aquaman, Jason Momoa or whatever his name is.
I heard
Jason Momoa. I'm sorry.
Momoa. Yeah.
I didn't say anything.
We didn't hear anything. It's okay. You know what, Royce? You talked about special concerts. I saw Alan Parsons up in Santa Rosa. I didn't have to leave town, man. Wonderful. There was no Eric Wolferson, okay, but the band was tight, and I got a chance. And it was such a small venue that I got a chance to go up and shake his hand and tell him, I thank you very much. And you know what? Personally, to me, I thought, this guy's heard this 1,001 times. And you know what? He looked me right in the eye and said, thank you, in such a sincere way. I was hooked. I thought, he really cares,
Right.
But, what a nice guy. What a nice guy. And I'm a big Alan Parsons. I like all of the Beatle-related bands. I love Oasis, sort of, kind of. I love, I said in one of my videos, I have a love-hate relationship with Oasis. They're brilliant, okay? They're brilliant, but they can also, of course, ELO, I mentioned Klaatu, and Badfinger. Everybody asked me in my latest video, why didn't you cover Badfinger? Oh, Badfinger's coming, baby.
Right.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
Right. Oh, good. Yeah.
I actually did lights for Badfinger one time, 1991.
That's right. You said that before.
Yeah.
And I just saw Joey Mullen with what's his name? Todd Rundgren. They were doing the Beatles Revolver. It's called 50 Years Ago or something. They were doing Beatles Revolver album. Christopher Cross.
Well, Todd Rundgren, I believe,
the last bad boy.
I think Todd Rundgren is the one that was actually not managing Badfinger, but it was like his project. If you look at I think it was Todd Rundgren.
It was Rod when they were the Ivies, really?
No, it may be.
From what I understand, they were the Ivies. They had that single. They had the lead singer who they let go, brought on Joey, right as Paul brought them kind of into Apple, and he wrote Come and Get It for them, which I love that single, but you know what? That's to me, out of all their top hits, that to me, I really liked it when they became themselves. And out of that song, I actually prefer the song that's on Anthology by Paul that he recorded, guys, in 1 freaking hour.
Wow.
That on Anthology, listen to it. It is as good as the Badfinger cut, every bit as good. And he recorded it by himself in 1 freaking hour before the Beatles showed up for a recording session.
I believe Badfinger was the second band to be signed to Apple. The Beatles #1, then it was Badfinger was the second album, the second band.
And James Taylor was in there, but they weren't a band. But around that time.
Speaking of venues that are right in your hometown, we had our Las Vegas Convention Center, and I can't even remember half the bands I saw there, but among them were. Well, let's see. I saw Elton John when he was 23 years old. And then again, a couple of years ago, the $1 Million Piano Show at the Forum at Caesar's Palace. We were sent free tickets because we used to fool around at the Caesar's chain. And that was a fantastic show because the Forum in Caesar's Palace is a small venue. It's got this huge, massive screen behind the stage. I mean, 3 drummers are on stage. He had a great lineup with him. But there's this, whatever song he was playing, there was a scene from that song that was floating across the screen. Well, that band on the piano that, outlines the outside of the piano, that same scene, why they call it the $1 million piano, whatever was playing up on this huge screen was also moving across the band of the piano. And it was different, of course, for every single song. But that was a really fantastic show. In fact, it was funny, the earlier one at the Las Vegas Convention Center where he changed gigantic sunglasses in between shows. Another band I saw there, and if Rachel's still listening, and I think she is, I saw the Guess Who, of American Woman fame. American Woman. And I really like that band. I saw them twice. Canadian band. Saw them twice at the Las Vegas Convention Center. And, of course, Sly and the Family Stone twice at the Hollywood Palladium. Let's see. Okay, also at the Las Vegas Convention Center was the first time I saw Ozzy Osbourne. The first time I kind of saw Chicago. That was what I told you. I had the worst seats in the house. My back was pinned up against the wall way at the top of the show. And I turned to my friends and said, I'm going to go find a better seat. And I'm holding on to people as I'm walking down the aisle to keep from falling. And sometime later, I hate to admit this, but I've let the cat out of the bag a few times already. I wake up and I'm staring at lights, not even knowing where I'm at. And I left to find a better seat. I was laying on 4 seats in the front row, and they were sweeping the place up, and all the lights were on. Everybody was gone but me and the people cleaning, So that was
that's
way to get a ticket in the front row, man.
Yeah,
I love it.
That sounds like a concert out of the 70s, because I remember that's the way it was in the 70s. When the show was over with, the lights would come on, people would disperse, but you always got this spattering of people who were passed out, and gotta go, man, gotta go. What?
Yeah. I had a buddy that went, he passed out third song at the Ziggy. It was a Ziggy Marley, Cheap Trick, and In Excess show. He passed out third song. Like this the whole show. We had like 10 rows back. And we're like, you missed the whole thing. Well, good. When are they coming on? You missed it all, dude. We're leaving.
I've been to Jamaica, but that's a whole nother show, and it's just crazy too. But anyway, I did see Ziggy Marley out here at the Pozo Saloon of all places. Same place I saw Snoop Dogg, out in the middle of nowhere, farming country. But I saw, we took my oldest daughter to see Whitney Houston. It was her favorite band at the time. We took her to see Billy Ocean another time. It was her favorite band at the time. I saw Van Halen after the reunion with David Lee Roth, once again, Paso Robles Fairgrounds. And the funnest part of the show was when they all left stage and we're all screaming for an encore, and Eddie comes out by himself, and somebody brings out a little wooden chair that he sits in. He sat there and soloed for about 25 or 30 minutes. And it was just, it was just fantastic to hear Eddie Van Halen just soloing for that long. And I saw Bryan Adams here locally at Vina Robles Amphitheater. Jethro Tull, Las Vegas at the Ice Palace. That was a fun show. Almost got my tail kicked by some bikers. I was 17 years old, I think.
What were they touring, Royce?
Jethro Tull.
Jethro Tull's one of my favorite bands.
I'm gonna say it was 70, possibly 1971.
Oh, early.
Yeah, early.
Yeah.
I saw them later.
I didn't see them until they did Passion Play. I saw them when they toured Passion Play.
Yeah.
I
love that band. That was a great band.
I got to see them on the Rock Island tour. And that was in late 80s.
So. Did you?
Well, they're one of the one of my Mount Rock Olympus 13 bands of rock and roll.
I saw Jethro Tull in 77 is when I saw him.
Yeah. I saw both ZZ Top and the Black Crowes on the Laughlin River run. And the funny thing about the Black Crowes is my buddy was a high roller, so he got front row to everything, suites to stay in. They would fly him back to Vegas to see a fight, put him up in a suite, and he wasn't even spending the night. Just have a place to set his jacket while the limo took him to the fights. Anyway, so that's kind of the way it was when you were with my buddy. So the Black Crowes, we were front row, and Dave was on the outside edge. And so all of these, what I call Woodstock dancers, kind of crazy dancers, were dancing back and forth all around Dave, who was at the edge of the aisle, and they kept spilling beer on him. and Dave's got a hell of a temper. It didn't take him long to leave. And so I sat there and watched the show by myself. But anyway, let's see. I saw Velvet Revolver, Slash's band, when Scott Weiland was singing for him. Shockingly, I didn't know that Scott Weiland did this, but he sang the entire show through a megaphone. That was kind of funny. Let's see. Jethro Tull, Black Crowes, Whitney Houston, Journey. Yeah, I'm kind of running out of the stuff that I wrote down, but I saw quite a few bands growing up. And one of the fun things about the Las Vegas Convention Center, there was a door away from the main entry doors, and it was always open. There was always a security guard standing in the doorway. And so we were kind of hanging out kind of near that door one day, and we didn't have tickets to a particular concert. And we looked over, and the guy was gone, So we crept up and looked back and forth and rushed in and just blended in with the crowd, And after that, that's where we used to hang out if we didn't have tickets for the concert. And I must have gotten to about 3 shows that way.
I was just thinking of something that we might want to discuss on another show. How technology has changed concerts over the years.
Oh, yeah. There's a good topic.
That is a good topic.
I remember
a great topic.
I remember going to see a concert and just some white lights shine down on the band, And now you got these digital screens, and it's amazing now. And sometimes you wonder, am I going to the show to see the band, or am I here to watch the light show? I mean, it's almost 2 different things going on at one time. And like with the Rolling Stones, I saw them in the Cotton Bowl last November. Didn't have front row seat this time, kind of up in the balcony area. But I mean, they look like ants are so far away. But with these big screens, you're watching the screen instead of the actual person. So
Right.
I don't.
Wasn't it McCartney? Because in '76 he had lasers at the Cow Palace.
Oh,
and
yeah.
that was the first use of lasers, from what I know, at a rock venue. So he set a new precedent. Right. And guys, man, I can't tell you, I was on something good that night, because I swear to God, it was such a thing. Compared to the skyrockets and behind the stage that happens now, we have lasers tripping over your head right to the back of the Cow Palace. You're just thoroughly grabbed into the stage. And that was, I go, well, this isn't my mama's light show no more, Yeah. It was awesome.
Well, I remember I saw The Who out in San Diego, and this is back in the days where lasers were still fairly new at concerts. And they had a whole array of lasers that would go up and down into the audience. Well, that's before they realized lasers were dangerous.
Yeah. There's an issue with like Blue Oyster Cult with the lasers too, or something.
Yeah, now they got them designed now where the lasers don't actually hit the audience. I guess they're reflected or whatever. But yeah, we're sitting there going, "Oh my God, look at the laser here! That's cool," not knowing.
Well, a minute ago, I had this up. Now, Todd Pattison is my nephew. I believe he lives with Betty's sister is his mother. They live back in Virginia. But anyway, he says the best show he's ever seen was Whitesnake. Now, Todd is a musician, and I keep trying to talk him into coming on the show and bringing a couple of videos of his music. He plays every instrument himself. He sings. And if you look him up, Todd Pattison, he's got some great music out there. He's got a great voice, and I really like his style. So, Todd, we'd really like to have you on the show and maybe watch a couple of your videos, and you can talk about your music with us and just have a good time. Thank you for being here too. So anyway.
Actually, he brought up Whitesnake, and that's a show I have scheduled, and they backed out. Whitesnakes and Scorpions, and apparently David Coverdale is he's sick or ill or has COVID or something, and they canceled, which was supposed to be their quote farewell tour. So I was kind of looking forward to that, even though I know Dave doesn't have his voice like he used to.
Wow!
But I was a little bummed out about that.
Have the CD.
That was about 80% of the reason I was going to that show.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
He has admitted. David Coverdale has admitted that he can't read. I gave him kudos for the fact that at least, unlike, he's honest about hiring backup singers to handle those highs he can't hit anymore.
Right.
And he just brings it up in interviews and everything. So I give him kudos for that. But at the same time, 90% of the people who pay tickets to go see David Coverdale aren't aware that his backup singers right in front of them are the ones that are actually performing for him. So I have a bit of a trouble with that. And I'm a Coverdale fan. I really am. I loved him right from the very first time I heard him with, of course, Deep Purple.
Yeah.
I've often said that if Tommy Bolin had survived and David Coverdale and they had stayed after Come Taste the Band, that band could have gone in a whole different direction and been around for a while, I believe.
Well, they're not the only band that's got the backup singers propping them up, as you well know. There's quite a few out there right now. I mean, from Paul McCartney to the Stones. These guys are getting older. I mean, that's why we did that show last week about where's rock headed with, soon all our rock legends are going to be gone.
Yeah.
Are we going to see? I keep hearing this, and part of me understands it. I've got a heart too, it's our last chance to see so-and-so and so-and-so. But, if they're not freaking delivering for me, I'm sorry. I'm just, that's it. If they're not going to deliver and they can't quite do it anymore, and they're not willing, like Robert Plant can't deliver what he delivered once, but look at how interesting he is. He's doing some of the best stuff. And I love what you were saying, buddy, on your video about him on Happy Birthday, Robert.
Yeah.
The thing is, he is so it would be nice to see Zeppelin and all of that. And
first guy in line.
And we'd all go, Allison who, probably, except that what he's doing, you almost, I think you were talking about this, Earl, that you want, that, gee, we'd have to give up some of that in order to see Zeppelin again. And yet the forward music, only Zeppelin they never play anything twice, so that'd be worth it. I don't know what I'm saying, but it's like, if they don't have anything to offer, come on, we're just, we're propping up old guy. I'm 67. I'm not a young chick anymore. And if I couldn't handle it, and I was still out there doing the music like I used to, look, tough shit, Michael. I mean, we all have to face it, right?
No,
right.
I think I just think it's because some of these older rock stars are so famous that people sometimes, I don't care how they sound, I want to see that person. It's just they want to see, they want to be there. They want to be a part of something, and even though it sounds like
that.
Yeah, that's kind of how I felt with Whitesnake. I saw him back in the 80s, and, I saw when Coverdale had his voice, but I was like, all right, last time around, why not,
Yeah.
But, well, I mean, that's kind of, I'm a concert whore. I mean, I've seen a lot of shows. And, I mean, I don't know if you guys are familiar with that Setlist website. I've been logging all my shows in there. So I'll see anybody lately now, especially over the last 2 years when we couldn't. I'm just going to see anybody I can.
Yeah, there's just so much going on.
That, the drought of
just live music.
Not go and see them.
Yeah. Well, right before COVID hit, Betty and I had tickets to see the Rolling Stones for the third time in San Diego. We actually booked a flight, had a hotel booked, and the whole 9 yards. And then they didn't cancel, and that was the reason why we were having trouble getting a refund. They postponed. That's different. But eventually we got a refund. Numerous phone calls. Didn't look like it was ever going to happen, and it hasn't happened. And it's been 3 years now. Numerous phone calls. They finally go, "Oh, we had a window of time. We sent you an email. You didn't respond, so you can't get your refund." And so I turned my secret weapon, my wife, over to him, and the money was transferred back into my account the next day.
Yeah. Guys, I'm gonna have to get off here. I got something going on in the morning.
Dan's having a medical procedure at the hospital tomorrow, and I want to wish Dan.
Oh, that's right. I heard about that last week.
All the luck. We love you, brother.
Wish you all the best, man.
We'll be sending prayers and love to you, man. And I'm sure you got this thing,
Yeah, they're saying I got to be there at 5:30 in the morning, which means I got to get up at 4.
Oh my gosh!
I said, well, at least when I get there and they give me the anesthesia, I can go back to sleep.
They knock you out good, buddy. I just went through a procedure myself, as you know. What is that? Oh God, it's got to be about 5 weeks ago.
Yeah.
I've been running my channel pretty much bedridden for the last 5-6 months. A lot of people didn't know that, but and then I had my surgery, and it's getting back. But my prayers are out for you. I've been thinking about you a whole lot.
Yeah, this is heart surgery number 9.
Yeah.
So,
man.
Yeah.
Well, like my son says, my son says I'm a tough son of a bitch. So, but hopefully I'll be back next week.
You will. No. Hopefully about it. You will be here.
If not, Zep Pearl could take my place.
I don't want to see that happen. So I'll be here next week.
No. Zep Pearl, you can come. You can come anyway. But
I appreciate the invite tonight. Actually.
Oh yeah, no, anytime, brother. Appreciate you coming on. I appreciate all your knowledge and went on your show last night. Really enjoyed it. So anyway,
I've been following his channel for a while now. I'm just kind of getting into it. I mean, he covers so many different things and everything, man. I really want to tap into some of your knowledge base, dude. I really
Yeah. I mean, my channel's a lot of showing records, kind of part of that YouTube vinyl community kind of thing. But I mean, I have a pretty wide range of music I like.
Yeah. Well, I want to remind everybody that I consider the live podcast that we're doing right now kind of my flagship of my channel. But to tell you the truth, my biggest shows with the most views are in my other playlists. Not easy to admit. I mean, I have an 8-minute construction video that's got, 3,800 views, 8 or 9 months old. I've got a in my tours of famous places or why we love the Central Coast, where I go around touring things on the Central Coast, I've got a video on Cayucas, California, Cayucas Walkabout, and it's got 3,500, 3,600 views. And my Harmony, California. You ever been to Harmony? Michael, you live in California.
I do live in California. Where is Harmony?
Harmony, it's between Cayucas and San Simeon. You know, and William Randolph Hearst used to stop there all the time at the creamery.
What is that? South of, just south of Monterey?
Oh, yes, definitely south. Yeah, it's not far from where I live, actually.
Yeah, I'm up in the
35 or 40 minutes.
Right.
But anyway,
I'm up in the Sacramento Valley area, buddy. So.
I did a video on that. It's got 1,200 views or something, and it's Harmony's a town with a population of 18 people. It's mostly just artsy stuff, and then there's a winery up on the hill. And so we took all that in, and you can rent the entire town for a wedding or something. And they do have a wedding chapel. It's a cool little place. It really is. And the winery just up on the hill.
Rent the town?
You can rent the entire town out for a wedding or something.
Are you kidding me? Oh, that's awesome.
No. So we go around and we make these videos, and I've got more coming up. I just did a car show last night, here in town. Some of them are shorts. I've got one on home inspections. I'm a home inspector. I got one on contracting. I'm a contractor. And then one where we're trying to promote our real estate business, Betty and me, called, Royce and Betty Eddings, the Eddings Group at Navigators Real Estate. So I've got all these different playlists. And so you never know what you're going to see when you go there. You might find something you like if you want to go check some of the other stuff out.
Oh, yeah. I've perused your videos from different playlists. You do a bang up job.
Thank you.
Yeah, I love them.
Oh, thanks. Well, anyway, guys, I think we're kind of wrapping up now. It's what time is it? It's 8:06, and
there's so much we didn't cover.
I know
concerts like Live Aid and the Woodstock '94, '99, all that stuff.
Yeah.
I know. Well, that's okay because we've been
part 2,
part 1s and part 2s of shows.
Yeah.
We did that on the world's best front men and women. We did that on albums that changed the entire direction of rock and roll. We had a part 1 and 2, and sometimes it's better to do it that way. Yeah. But anyway, so guys, I want to thank you guys for helping out tonight, and look forward to having you all back. I want to thank everybody in the chat. You are really appreciated. There is no show without you guys. So we're going to sign off, and thanks everybody once again. And that's what's happening in Royce's world today. Thank you all very much.
Thanks for having me. Great to be up here with you guys.